When I'm in the mountains, I know I'm not alone. I know the ancestors are there with me and guiding me through my decision making.
You can't have love without hate. You can't have joy without pain. I think if you try to overcome it, you'll never be able to move forward. You won't conquer grief. Instead, it's can you integrate it?
The land is always talking to us.
Wow, it's so pretty. Oh, I'm so happy to be out here. I love being in new parts of the land. Never been here before.
This is very beautiful.
This really is.
I didn't really know Sandy that well. I didn't know that much about her backstory. And I've been really, really fortunate to see a lot of the world, but one thing I kind of crave is a really strong calling to a specific place, and you could tell that Sandy has that. So it was really, really special to get to know her up in a place that she has like a deep connection with. There's this long lineage. Sandy and her people's views of those places are incredibly useful and incredibly worthwhile learning about, because they can tell us things about those places that we don't know.
Kalkalokik.
Kalkalokik.
Yeah, and that's literal translation would be the thunder ptarmigan.
That's awesome. And why did you get that name?
My uncle saw it as I was changing the way people viewed Indigenous people within the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so my uncle gave me this very powerful name, so gotta live up to it now.
Send it.
My life of sort of adventure started even before I was born. Basically every year until I was 17, I would travel to at least 2, potentially 3 continents, between Africa, Europe, and North America. I'm just a person in motion. After that was learning to become a professional athlete through triathlon, training with some of the best triathletes in the world.
It is too bad it's so pretty, eh? Such a dangerous thing is so pretty.
I started to find racing a little bit limiting because you were confined to a race course. So the next phase was more a sense of adventure. So taking athleticism and fitness and combining it with the mountains. I just really enjoy that feeling of deep fatigue after hard effort. And once again, that sort of spirit of independence that you get from running and cross-country skiing. Your effort is rewarded.
It's so sparkly.
Up we go, climbing mountains we are going.
When I was growing up, if you wanted to get outside, it was going to be picking berries or foraging or hunting, and that was kind of the ways that we got out. In my late teens, I didn't feel that I belonged in the outdoors. When you come to Canada, you don't see Indigenous people as guides anywhere. And just me pushing through those barriers and pushing back to the people that told me I wasn't in a space for me. It was really hard. But once you overcome that, you do realize that the outdoors is for everybody.
And you're also saying one of the mountains over there is your name?
It's not my name. It's the story of where my name comes from is based over there.
Okay, oh, very cool.
So.
My name, Isha, comes from the Miller Bench area of the Pemberton Valley. The Lil'wat territory is over 800,000 hectares. And when reservations were created, we were confined to 0.004% of that 800,000 hectares. Residential schools were created to take Indigenous youth from their families and strip them of their culture and of their language. So Isha was a lady who didn't have the ability to use her legs, disabled, couldn't walk. And so the villagers, every fall, they would go from the valley up to the tops of the mountains to forage or to hunt and, prepare for winter and gather. And Isha would tell the villagers, go ahead, I'll meet you up at the next camp, which is on top of the mountain. And the villagers were always confused. okay, we'll just leave you here. And so as soon as they were out of sight, Isha would call upon her spirit animal, which was the eagle. And 2 eagles would fly out of the sky and pick her up by the shoulders and bring her up to the village. And so Isha would always arrive before the villagers. So she was known to fly around the mountains. My uncle thought that was a perfect name for me because I'm always on the mountains and maybe not flying, but sliding.
Look over there. Eagle, wow, that's amazing.
As I grew older and I found snowboarding, that was my way of getting outside, and that was my way of connecting to my past.
It's mountains as far as you can see.
What's the word for mountain?
Skite.
Skite?
Skite.
Skite?
Yeah.
Cool.
Or skate.
As Indigenous people all over North America, we had our own stories connected to our land, and it was a way to teach our youth how to be safe out there. But a lot of the stories have been lost through the years because of that eradication of our language. And so I'd start researching and getting these stories about glacier traverses or big mountain rescues, and finding in those stories little things like watching out for avalanche terrain, how to find somebody if they're buried in an avalanche.
I met Laura in Calgary. I learned a lot about moving in the mountains from her because I was always really objective based and she was more like immersion based. I remember going skiing with her one day. We were going up this slope and there's a couple 100 meters left to get up to this summit, basically. And when we were there, she's like, oh, I think I'm ready to turn around now. And I was like, but the summit's right there. And she's like, yeah, but the good skiing ends here and we're here to ski today. When you start moving into the mountains and really trying to express yourself in the mountains, the one downside to that is that any mistakes in that realm can have really profound consequences.
Yeah, so, my wife, Laura, she died in an avalanche when we were skiing together in the Rockies in January of 2020. You can tell it still has like a really deep impact.
We're digging for almost 45 minutes to get to her. And I remember digging, just feeling tired and just yelling at myself, you can't fucking feel tired right now. Like, you have to get to Laura. Yeah, and I've sort of had to live with the fact that I triggered the avalanche. I wasn't able to rescue her. And it's just a completely messed up feeling. And we were just starting to plan, like a really long life together, and that ended in that moment.
I always like to take it slow, enjoy the land, and also just like noticing little things like the little wind marks back there. It looked like a grizzly bear paws.
There's different forms of grief and loss and trauma that people can experience. For some people, it's intergenerational trauma. I have a lot of respect for somebody like Sandy who sort of recognizes what potentially she's lost and is missing and is looking to move forward with it by trying to learn her language, by trying to reconnect to the land in ways that matter to her, and that's snowboarding. You can't have love without hate. You can't have joy without pain. I think if you try to overcome it, you'll never be able to move forward. It's kind of like the sense of like conquering a mountain. You'll never have like a rich experience if your joy is to conquer a mountain. You won't conquer grief. Instead, it's can you integrate it?
Glaciers are so crazy. Like,
look at the size of that crevasse over there, though.
I know. As Indigenous people, we grabbed things from the land and created our own language. For example, Tamiu, which is land. Okay. Tamiu, that is supposed to imitate the wind going through the land.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we stop on this rise and have a look at the maps? Get a little bearing of where we're at?
Adam and I were very similar in the sense that we use the outdoors as an opportunity to heal in the mountains, and that's what we're doing to heal those intergenerational traumas. And I'm sure when Adam goes out into the backcountry and he experiences those mountains like he did with his wife, I'm sure he feels with her right there.
Oh, it's so good!
When I'm in the mountains, I know I'm not alone. I know the ancestors are there with me and guiding me through my decision making. Even with the really cold winds yesterday on the ridge, I felt a sense of warmth knowing that I was on my territory and looking at the lands that my ancestors traveled for centuries. The land is always talking to us.
Oh, good! That was awesome.
The crispiest of high
Oh my God, that was
fives.
lovely. This guy has been interrupting the interview. He's just having a little moment, whoever you are. Hi there. I know, you just want to be with the people.